guys, welcome back to the channel. Got another little tutorial for you today on installing paint protection film on your vehicle. This is something that I found extremely helpful when I went through the certification process and with HEXIS when I was trained to install HEXIS body fence. So a neat trick they taught me was a trick to get the nice neat edges on the paint protection film. Some customers are going to want the edges of the paint protection film rolled around the edges. You're going to leave a half-inch, quarter-inch, whatever, let it dry, and then you're going to just fold it around like the door edges and stuff, the hood, the areas that are going to see a lot of impact. You're going to want to roll those edges, but other areas of the car, you really can't roll the film around the edge, or you might not want to. Maybe the customer doesn't want it like that, and you're just going to want to bring the film right up as close to the edge of the panel as you can, to where you can't see the edge of the film. It's almost invisible. We have to do it the old-fashioned way with a bulk piece, usually a large square or rectangle, whatever, and we're going to actually cut on the film itself once it's installed on the vehicle. So don't freak out. You might think, oh, I don't want to do that, I can't do that. I kind of thought the same thing. But I'm going to teach you guys a little way to practice first. You can get a feel for how the film cuts, how thick it is, how strong it is, how much pressure it takes to cut through it, and you'll kind of catch on pretty quickly. You'll see that as long as you're applying consistent pressure, you're going to know when it's scoring the film, and you're not actually cutting through it. I'm going to show you guys in a second. I'm going to do it right on this table, and I'm not going to cut through it. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. We'll peel it off, and I'll show you what to look for. All right, so before you attempt to make any cuts on the paint, cut yourself a couple little pieces like this, and then what I want you guys to do is just kind of get a feel for it. Start out light, lay the blade down. You want to start with a sharp blade, so snap your blade. I always want to cut with a new blade. They're cheap enough. There's no reason trying to that way you're always getting consistent cuts if you always have a sharp blade. You don't have to guess on how sharp it is. So I'm going to take it and I'm just going to make some lines in the paint protection film like this. And if you listen closely, you might be able to hear it. If you're doing it right, a lot of times you'll hear like a high-pitched squeaking sound where it's scoring the film, but it's not cutting all the way through it. It'll actually make a squeak. You can hear it a little bit. Okay, so now that I did that, what you're going to want to do after you make your scores, peel it off and hold it up and look at it and pull on it. Okay, see, I just cut into it, but I didn't cut all the way through it because I'm pulling on it, and I shouldn't see any daylight. I can kind of see some scores on it, but I didn't cut all the way through it. So then now that you have that, you can go in here and you can find your score, and watch this. Bam, it tears right on that line. It'll continue to tear right on that score. Once you score it, all you have to do is just get it started, and it's going to break away just like that. Bam. So that's how we do it on the paint. So take a couple of these, take some practice cuts. You'll figure out if you can't break it apart like that, you're not cutting deep enough. And if you can stretch it apart and see through it, you cut too far and you would have just cut into your paint. So cut yourself a couple small pieces and do some practicing. I'm going to take you outside and just slap a piece on the car and show you how I cut it on the car and how easy it is. All right, so once you got your area clear and clean, decontaminated, wipe it down with isopropyl alcohol. I'm just going to lay this down kind of like this on here. I'm going to show you how I would trim it right there on that edge. So of course we're going to start out with let's wipe it off a little bit here. You don't want to get anything trapped underneath that after you make your cuts. So we're going to spray a little bit of soapy water down. And I know there's a lot of information out there on the internet saying use Johnson's baby shampoo and water. Don't do that. Use Dawn dish soap or another dish soap. If you look at the ingredients in Johnson's baby shampoo, you'll see glycerols. Glycerols are fats or oils. You don't want oil underneath this stuff. It's gonna interfere with the adhesive properties of the paint protection film. Use the Dawn dish soap and water, just a couple drops, and there's no oils in Dawn dish soap. So when you go to rinse out your soapy solution on the edges to get it to stick, like I'm going to show you, all that stuff's going to just rinse out with water. You don't got to worry about any leftover oil residue. You're not going to have any adhesion issues or anything like that later on down the road. So stay away from the baby shampoo. I don't care what anybody says, it's not what you should be using. So sprayed it on, spray a little on the film, the adhesive side, and then I'm just gonna be, say I was gonna stick it down right there. Put a little spray on the back side to lubricate your squeegee, and I'm just gonna tack it down like I was, installing this on a vehicle. Okay, bam, looks great, right? You notice it kind of shifts around a little bit. Well, that's pretty normal. In order to get it to tack down, there's another trick which you may not know or may not find on the internet so easily. Use distilled water. You can just use tap water, honestly. And on the edges, I'll go along the edge and just rinse out that soapy solution. Oh, I sprayed more soap. This is my water. Rinse all that soap out along the very edge, and you'll see why in a second here. So before, it was kind of wanting to slide around still a little bit. You'd have problems cutting it. So now I got all that soapy solution rinsed out along the edge, and that's what's going to help it really tack down on the edge. You don't want to use just water on the whole thing because you're going to get bubbles trapped without the soapy solution. But now that I've done that with the water and rinsed the soap out, that's going to be a lot stronger bond on that edge for me to cut, and a lot stronger down the road. So all I do now is, just like I showed you guys inside, I'll start very carefully on the edge of the film, and you can hear the squeak. Nope. And then when you get to the end, obviously be careful not to cut into your paint. So I scored it. And now I should be able to get it started here on the end. That's the tricky part. Once you get it started, you gotta cut all the way to the end. That's where you gotta be careful, getting that cut started. Once you get it started, you're good. So I can take my fingernail and kind of pull the opposite way. Bam, got it started. And look how easy this is. Now that I scored it, bam, just like that. I'll hit it with the squeegee one more time. Wipe it off. And that's it, guys. Look at that. Bring it in close. That's all I did. You got a nice, clean edge all the way down. That's it. That's all you have to do. And so it's going to be very important to, like I said, if you're installing on any body panels, you're going to want it, you have to rinse your edges. That's not something that's readily available as far as information goes on the internet when people talk about installing this stuff, the paint protection film, but you got to rinse the soap out of the edges. Otherwise it's not going to stick down, or it may not stick down like you need it to. You got to rinse the soap out of the edges. And the rest of the panel, the soap is... And that's it. Show you guys a cut, nice and clean. You just gotta have a steady hand, that's all. Hope that helps you guys.